Hi guys, welcome back. Last time we imagined placing a tiny sticker on a cat's forehead and explored why it always begins grooming by licking its paw before wiping its face. But what happens if that first attempt doesn't work? The cat clearly hasn't achieved its goal yet, but instead of skipping straight to another face wipe, it licks its paw again before trying once more. If the brain already knows the object is still there, why doesn't it continue where it left off? Why does each attempt begin with same paw-licking step? Neuroscience answers this question by examining how the brain selects, organizes, and repeatedly recruits innate grooming programs. Recruitment of an innate motor program. A tactile stimulus on the face activates sensory receptors in the skin, whiskers, and fur, generating afferent signals that indicate a persistent stimulus. Rather than specifying each movement independently, the central nervous system recruits an innate motor program that generates a coordinated grooming sequence. The sequence is produced through interactions among sensory pathways, the brainstem, the basal ganglia, and cortical motor regions, which together organize and modulate the behavior. For facial grooming, the sequence typically follows the pattern: lick the forepaw, moisten the paw, wipe the face, then reassess the sensory input. The stereotype sequence is commonly referred to as a grooming sequence, grooming chain, or stereotype grooming pattern. Although highly conserved, its execution is continuously influenced by sensory feedback. So why is the sequence repeated? After each face wipe, sensory feedback determines whether the tactile stimulus has been eliminated. If the stimulus persists, ongoing sensory input again recruits the facial grooming motor program. Because the program has a characteristic innate initial state, each new cycle begins with forepaw licking before the subsequent face wipe. The repeated paw licking is therefore not an independent behavior or evidence of memory failure. Rather, it reflects the repeated recruitment of the same sequential motor program in response to persistent sensory input. An analogy: restarting the grooming program. An useful analogy is to imagine several sensory events occurring at nearly the same time. For example, something touches the cat's face, a hand briefly contacts its head, an unfamiliar odor appears, or a sudden sound captures its attention. A brain processes these inputs simultaneously, and they compete for a behavioral priority. If facial grooming is selected, the brain does not resume the previous grooming cycle halfway through. Instead, it recruits the innate grooming program from its characteristic beginning. Lick the forepaw, wipe the face, reassess. In this sense, each grooming cycle resembles a restart of the same motor program rather than a continuation from the middle. The repeated paw licking is therefore not a sign that the cat has forgotten its objective, but a consequence of how the grooming sequence is naturally organized.